السلام عليكم. أنا هحل الهومورك بتاع الميجرمنت في الكلاسيفايد. طيب أول حاجة عندنا number 1. A pendulum is swinging. 5 students each measure the time it takes to swing through 10 complete swings. احنا عندنا 5 students taking measurements وعندنا 10 complete swings. Okay. 3 students measure the time as 17.2 seconds. عندنا 3 students طلع لهم نفس الرقم ده. Another student measures it at 16.9 and the fifth student measures it at 17 seconds. What is the average period of the pendulum? طبعا المفروض انها سهلة قوي. The average period هو هجيب الأرقام كلها and then divide by the number. Okay. طيب how many readings do I have? في ناس هتغلط وتقول 3. We don't have 3 readings, we have 5 readings. Okay. 3 of them they have the same value. فأنا عندي ال 5 readings 17.2 و 17.2 و 17.2 و 16.9 و 17 and then divide by 5. Okay. طيب الرقم اللي هيطلع لي ده هيطلع 17.1. Is this the average period؟ لا. ليه؟ لأنه قال لي ده 10 swings. هم عملوا measurement ل 10 swings. يبقى ال average period هيبقى إيه؟ 17.1 over 10 اللي هي 1.71. So the answer is C. طيب the next question is number 5. A student watches a car race around the track. He uses a stopwatch. أنا عندي عربية okay ماشية في track. He uses a stopwatch to measure the time for the car to make one lap of the track. يبقى هيستعمل stopwatch عشان يقيس to measure the time taken around the track for only one lap. One lap يعني one لفة. Okay. The student forgets to reset the stopwatch at the start of the race. معنى كده إن هو لما بدأ ما بدأش عند زيرو. Okay. The diagram shows the time on the stopwatch at the start and the time after going around the track once. يبقى هو لما بدأ بالرقم ده بالتايم ده ولما خلص بالتايم ده. طيب يبقى how much time did the car take for one lap? So this number or this time minus this time. Okay. طيب to subtract I have to convert minutes and seconds to only seconds. Okay, so I have 1 minute and 22.15 seconds. So 1 minute is 60 seconds plus 22.15 is 82.15. This is the first time. And the other one is 2 minutes is 120 seconds plus 33.65, which is equal to 153.65. So I just subtract 82.15 from 153.65, which will give the second 71.5 seconds. Okay. The next question is number 6. A measuring cylinder contains some water. A metal block is slowly lowered into the water and is then removed. Finally, a piece of plastic is attached to the metal block and the block is again slowly lowered into the water. The diagrams show the measuring cylinder at each stage of this process. يبقى في الأول كان الووتر بس وبعد كده حطوا الميتال block فطبيعي water has risen and then they removed the metal block and attached a piece of plastic to the metal block and then they immersed them both into the cylinder and they need to know the volume of the piece of plastic. So what can I do to find out? ما بين السلندر ده وده ما بين الستيج دي ودي فرق بس البيس of plastic. So I just need to subtract this volume from this volume. Okay, so how much is this volume? It's 70 centimeter cubed and this volume it's 80 centimeter cubed. So the difference is 10. يبقى the answer is A. Okay, now number 7. A pipe drips water into an empty glass jar. A student takes measurements to find out how fast the water is rising up the jar. The diagram shows the arrangement. هو عايز يعرف الرate with which the water rises, how fast it's rising. Okay. The student measures the depth of the water every minute. The depth يعني depth. how deep it is. So basically this length or this height, okay? State the two pieces of equipment that she uses. She uses for a, the student measures the depth of water every minute. So I'm trying to measure the depth. What will I use to measure this length? Of course, a ruler, okay? And he's measuring it every minute. So what else do I need? Okay, so I need a stopwatch. So the answer would be ruler and stopwatch. If I say stop clock, it's okay. If I say watch, it's fine. Okay, but stopwatch is the most accurate. Now the student records her observations in a table. She then plots a graph using the axes shown. On the grid, label both axes with the title and unit. Okay, we've mentioned before that the time is always on the x-axis. So we just write time and then slash, and then, I'm sorry. We can write seconds, but he measured in minutes, so we can write minutes. Seconds wouldn't be wrong, but minute is more accurate, okay? The water rises up the jar at a constant rate. Oh, I forgot the other axis. The other axis would be what? Would be the depth, because she's measuring, or he's measuring the depth every minute. So the depth, and what would be the unit? What do you think the unit would be? This is a glass jar. So this small height can be measured in, of course, not meters. It's either centimeters or millimeters. I can write anything, whether centimeters or millimeters, okay? Both will be correct. Meters would be wrong. Okay. Draw a line on the grid. The water rises up the jar at a constant rate. Draw a line on the grid to show the student's graph. So it says that the water rises at a constant rate. Okay, so basically the distance, this distance that I'm measuring, is increasing constantly with time. Do you remember we took the distance time graphs? So the speed of the rising of the water is constant. So what does the graph look like? It says draw a line on the grid to show the student's graph. Start the line from the time when the jar is empty. So when the jar is empty, it's at time 0, and also the depth is 0. So we have to start the line from here. And then we can draw any straight line. Any straight line would be correct, okay? It would be better to have it go till the end of the grid. A puddle of water forms on the ground. The average depth of the water is 2.5 millimeters. Determine the average depth of water in meters. So it basically just wants me to convert 2.5 millimeters into meters. So how many millimeters are there in a meter? 1,000. So I divide by 1,000. So the answer will be 0.0025, and the unit is already there for me, done for me. Okay, the next question is number 11. The diagram shows a large tank containing water. The tank leaks. Drops of water fall from the tank. The drops hit the ground at a regular rate. يعني ايه regular rate؟ يعني كل وقت يعني مثلا say every second a drop hits the ground, every minute, every 3 seconds, every 2.5 seconds. So the time between the drops falling is constant. That means a regular rate, okay? Okay, so what is the question? A student measures the time interval between 2 drops of water hitting the ground. She uses a stopwatch and repeats the procedure 3 times. Okay, why did she repeat it 3 times? We know because it needs to be accurate, as accurate as possible. So she repeats it 3 times. The diagram shows each stopwatch reading. Okay, so they're all very close readings. And of course, she needs to take the average. Okay. On the line below each stopwatch, state the time readings shown in seconds. So what is the time reading here? Notice that this is not minutes, this is the seconds. So it's just 1.24 seconds. Here also it's 1.14 seconds, and here it's 1.16 seconds, okay? Now calculate the average time interval between 2 drops of water hitting the ground. The average would just be the average of the three numbers we got, okay? So the average will be 1.18 seconds, okay? طبعا نقدر نتأكد ان احنا الرقم بتاعنا معقول لو بصينا على 1.18 وبصينا على الثلاث ارقام دول هنلاقيه حاجة في النص. لو الافرج طلع اصغر من اصغر رقم او اكبر من اكبر رقم يبقى انا اكيد عاملة حاجة غلط. الافرج لازم يطلع حاجة في النص، اوكي؟ طيب number 15. A student is measuring the time for one complete oscillation of a pendulum. The student uses a stopwatch to measure the time taken for 50 periods of the pendulum. The diagram shows the time taken on the stopwatch. Calculate the time for one period of the pendulum. Give your answer to 3 significant figures. Okay, so this reading is 50 periods of a pendulum. What is the reading? 60 plus 23.37, which is 83.37. So to get one period, I have to divide by 50, okay? If I divide by 50, I think the number will be 1.66667 or more and more, okay? So it says 3 significant figures. So I have to count 3 significant figures and then round. So the number should be 1.67. If you don't know how to get the significant figures, please let me know. And I'll talk to your math teacher, Miss Yasmin, okay? And we'll discuss this in class, inshallah. Right, number 16. Four students, P, Q, R, and S, each attempt to measure the time period for one complete oscillation of a pendulum. Okay, remember what is one complete oscillation? Let's see. The arrows in the diagram show the movements of the pendulum that each student times. So student P is timing from here to here and then stops. Student Q starts here and times until the pendulum goes there and comes back. Student R starts from here, times until the pendulum goes there and comes until this point. Student S starts here, times all of this and way back here. So which student? State the student who has chosen the correct movement for one period of a pendulum. Okay, which student? Of course it's S, because S is the only one who has timed it from one point until it passed by all the other points and then back to the starting point again, okay? Number 17. A device has a light-emitting diode, LED or LED. LED stands for light-emitting diode that flashes briefly at regular intervals. مش مهم light emitting ده، المهم حاجة بتفلاش. يعني أنا لو لقيت نفسي مش فاهم أو مش الكلمة دي مش فاهمها أو مش عارف دي إيه، أنا مش هيفرق معايا. It's just something that flashes briefly يعني بسرعة. At regular intervals يعني ما بين كل فلاشاية وفلاشاية الوقت ثابت. Regular intervals. Determine how to describe how to determine accurately the average time for each interval using a stopwatch. Okay, this is a very basic question. You just have to write the steps. احنا عارفين هو قال لكم خلوا بالكم قال لكم flashes briefly معناه ان ايه حاجة سريعة. معناه ان very short period of time. احنا اتفقنا ان احنا to measure anything that is very small زي short period of time we have to measure a large number and then divide by that number. Okay? So how would you describe it? You just say start the stopwatch when the LED flashes. Okay? Count. You can say a large number or say maybe 10 flashes. Okay? Then stop the stopwatch. Okay, divide the time by 10. Okay, so this is enough. This is how you answer this question. Okay, notice you have 4 marks. If you leave out any of these points, the most important thing is you have to say count a number of flashes. You have to say start the stopwatch with one of the flashes, count 10 flashes, divide the time by 10. Okay. Now number 19. An IGCSE student is taking measurements of a pencil. The figure shows the pencil drawn in full size. Describe how you would use a length of string and a rule to determine the circumference C of the unsharpened section of the pencil. ايه ال unsharpened section؟ يعني ما اجيش اقيس هنا حلو، هيسمي circumference، يعني هو ايه، المقاس داير ما يدور كده زي ما قسنا في الفصل، هيسمي circumference ده C. حلو. طيب he wants us to describe how you would use the length of string and a rule to determine the circumference C. rule يعني ruler، هو بيسميها rule ساعات كتير. اوكي. طيب احنا عملنا ايه في الفصل فاكرين؟ use the string أو turn the string around the pencil، ولازم أقول العدد. ممكن أقول at least مثلا 3 turns or ممكن أقول 5 turns، مش هتفرق. ممكن أقول إيه at least 3 turns أو أقول 5 turns، مش فارقة. خلاص ماشي. mark the string، mark the start and end of the string. ماشي. measure and divide by 3 أو by the number of turns. لو أنا قلت 3 يبقى أقول divide by 3. لو قلت at least 3 يبقى أنا مش محددة عدد التيرنز، يبقى أقول the number of turns. لازم أخلي بالي أنا بقول إيه. لو قلت 5 turns يبقى لازم أقول divide by 5. خلاص. بس كده، دي إجابة السؤال. طيب عندنا حاجة تاني. number 22 يا جماعة، مش عليكم خالص أصلا، اشطبوها شخبطوا عليها. أوكي. احنا كده خلصنا الهوم ورك ده.